Blessings and welcome. In this video, I will be discussing the 5 types of people that you cannot have a healthy relationship with. If you see these 5 traits, qualities, and behaviors that I'm about to discuss within a person that you're dealing with in a relationship with, I'm telling you right now not to walk, but to run. Run away from the person, run away from the relationship, especially if you're in the early stages of the relationship, because these things that I'm about to discuss are highly destructive and you deserve better. So before we get into the topic of this video, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Also, I would love for you to like this video. It really does help me out. So hit that like button, hit the notifications button so you know whenever I upload a new video. Feel free to share this video, especially if you like my content on this channel. And also, I would love to hear from you. So drop me a comment. As usual, I really do appreciate your support of this channel. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the unhealthy people and the traits and the characteristics that we really need to watch out for. Now, if you see these 5 different things, these are not red flags. This is just, you see it, just run away. That's all I have to say about that. So let's get into it. So the first type of person that I want to talk about is, number 1, it's the jealous person. You cannot have a healthy relationship with jealous people, period. There's no way you can have a relationship, but it's not going to be a good one. So if you want a healthy relationship, you're not going to have one with a jealous person. On this channel, I discuss a lot how everything is on a spiritual basis and how the spirit realm and spirituality drive a lot of behaviors within people, which I believe to be is true. So with the jealous person, the spirits in the spirit realm that's driving and behind this type of behavior is the spirit of undermining. These people are always going to undermine you. It's the covetous spirit. They want what you have. So it's a covetous spirit that's there within them, a jealous hearted person. There's also the monitoring spirit. They're always going to be watching you, watching what you do, watching where you go. And they're not watching you for good reasons. They're watching you to see if they have an avenue or an end to be able to do some harm or some damage or to take something away from you. They're going to monitor you because they want to compete with you. They want to see what you have and what you're doing so they can go out and get what you have and try to compete. So these are very competitive people, but it's not healthy competition. It's them trying to be better than you, right? So at the end of the day, the jealous spirit and the spirits within the spirit of jealousy, it's just highly destructive, right? And it's really tricky with the jealous person or with jealous people because unfortunately, these folks, they can fly under the radar and sometimes the jealousy can be hard to detect within people unless you're in certain circumstances. So, and also the thing is we can also be blinded and not be able to see jealousy within people. And it does happen. It's happened to me. You know, I was in a situation where I thought I quote unquote had a friend and we were friends for almost 20 years. And come to find out that this person was like extremely jealous of me. And I didn't see it until situations changed, until that person was in a situation and I was in a different situation, a better situation. So sometimes when circumstances in life changes for us or changes for the other person, that's when we get to see the jealousy. Sometimes people change and their view of us change, right? So if they're used to being on top and seeing you in a certain light and you begin to glow up and level up and that might stir up some insecurities within that person, and they might not like it. And that's when the jealousy will come out. So sometimes we don't get to see the jealousy until our circumstances changes with people, right? And just so you know, jealous people are able to be fun to be around. Jealous people could be people that we have a lot of things in common with. So sometimes those attributes and those qualities can kind of like blind us to what's really truly in their hearts. But at the end of the day, you really can't be friends with a jealous person, with jealous people, because they're always going to be undermining you. They're always going to want what you have. And it's very, very destructive. And at the very extreme end, these people can harm you. There are some jealous people out there that they could take it all the way to the extreme level and harm and, take people's lives. So that is something that you cannot, deal with if you want to have a healthy relationship. So as soon as you see the jealousy within people, definitely start to take a step back. And I will say to make an about face and start to run, because usually that's something that they have to resolve within themselves. And that's something that you can't change or cure. So if a person is jealous of you, there's not much you can do about it, right? To kind of like change their mind. So the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself to protect yourself is to remove yourself away from the situation and away from them. So you cannot have a healthy relationship with jealous people. Number 2, people who lack empathy. And I've talked a lot about this on this channel. So either they have low empathy or no empathy. What that means is that they really don't care about you. You cannot have a healthy relationship with people who do not care about you. That is like the fundamental thing, the foundational thing for a good and healthy relationship is care. Care is a part of love and loving someone. So if care is removed from how a person feels about you, they can't possibly ever love you. So, the people who have low empathy or they lack empathy in general, they tend to be energy vampires, right? They tend to be very low effort people. And that might be confusing for us sometimes, because you're probably wondering, okay, so if this person doesn't care about me, they don't care about how I feel or what's going on with me in general, or just me as a person, then why in the world are they constantly around us? And sometimes it can be very confusing, because you may have people who are around you, they like your company, or they might like certain things about you. That's because you're probably supplying something that they need emotionally, resource wise, spiritually, or what have you. So they're energy vampires. They're around you because they're getting something from you. So those of you out there, if you're people pleasers and if you're the person who's always doing a lot, unfortunately, you're going to attract low empathy or no empathy people, because, there's some, there's like an emotional wall with these people. And I would add maybe even a little bit of laziness there, or just some people are just not capable of just how their brains are wired, of really caring for others as they should. And as a person, and I'm going to be a little transparent, who has been very apathetic at times, and that's something that I had to overcome. I understand to a degree where they're coming from, and you can't make a person care about you, right? So for people like that, and even in my own case, I wasn't extreme as not caring at all for people. I do have a lot of empathy. I am an empath, right? But there was a time in my life where I had apathy, right? I didn't care about things in general, not just about other people, but just things in general. So that was something I had to overcome personally. That's something that they would have to overcome personally. Now, do you want to waste your time going on that ride with that person as they heal and, become more aware and more caring of others? That's a journey that they have to take, but that's not for you to take, right? So, it can be confusing because they could be around you, drawing the life force energy out of you, right? But just because a person is around you and spending time with you and enjoying your company doesn't mean that they actually care about you, because the test for that always is, okay, the time when you need something, the time when you need a listening ear, the time when you need help. And that's when you'll begin to figure out that the person really does not care about you, right? And you're spending time with a person and, you know, they haven't bothered to really get to know you. They don't ask intelligent or questions of interest about you. So these are all of the things that you should watch out for, because the person who lacks empathy, they will hurt you deeply. Very deeply, and you can't have a healthy relationship with people who do not care about you. People like that will put you maybe even unintentionally in harm's way because of their lack of care. So yes, you have to be very, very cautious and watch out for these people, especially if you are a people pleaser and you're used to doing a lot. Unfortunately, you're going to attract these types of people. The third person that I want to talk about, or the third type of people, are dishonest people. You cannot have a healthy relationship with dishonest people. A dishonest person, the liars, the cheaters, the manipulators, they will totally destroy your sense of trust. And you're going to have a hard time in other relationships because you've dealt with a dishonest person for so long. So dishonest people will destroy your sense of trust. Dishonest people, once again, just like the person who lacks empathy, a dishonest person will put you in harm's way. And also they will leave you very emotionally vulnerable and unstable. You can't have a stable relationship with someone you don't trust, right? So stay away from dishonest people. And once they start the lying, once they start the stealing, once they start cheating on you, these are people you can't trust, right? So, and also, you know, just on a physical level, these are also the types of people who will destroy your nervous system. They will mess up your nervous system. So just know that you cannot have a healthy relationship with dishonest people. They will leave you emotionally unstable because you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know when they're telling the truth. And being around these people can really harm you seriously, emotionally and psychologically. So you can never have a healthy relationship with a dishonest person. The fourth type of person or people I want to talk about, and this is actually a really big one. These are the prejudiced and bigoted people. So I'm going to throw in there the racist and the misogynist. And you definitely have to be careful with the racist and the misogynist person, because especially if you're within that marginalized group, because the racist and the misogynist, they actually have systems of power that support their racism. There's systems of power that supports misogyny. So if these people harm you, especially seriously harm you, and you have to get law enforcement involved, and you got to file for something, and if there's something legal involved, there's a whole system and systems to support these people, unfortunately. Not to say that racist people don't get punished or a misogynist might not get punished, but just know now you're dealing with a person who's part of a power system that can do triple harm to you if you happen to be ensnared by them. So you cannot have a healthy relationship with a racist person, a misogynist person, with a prejudiced person, with a bigoted person, especially if you are a woman and you're dealing with a misogynist. If you're a person of color dealing with a white racist or a racist in general, if you're part of any marginalized group or group that's in the outskirts, and you're dealing with a person who's within a group who has power. So, yes, you cannot have healthy relationships with these people, because at the end of the day, what's driving this behavior and this mindset is the idea and the belief that they are better than you, that they are superior to you. You can't have a healthy relationship with people who think that they are better than you. See, once again, everything is on a spiritual basis. And maybe I'll make a video about about this aspect of, prejudice and bigotry and racism and so on, how that looks on the spirit realm and within the spirit realm. Maybe I will make a video on that, but just know that on the spiritual plane and in the spirit realm, the driving spirit behind this is actually, it's very demonic and evil, and it's actually an idolatrous spirit. It's an idolatrous spirit that's driving this. When you have a person or a group of people who's looking at other people, other human beings, like they're less than or inferior, what they are saying and what's happening in the spirit realm is that they're saying, me as a human being, I'm looking at another human being. So me as the image of God, looking at somebody else who's also the image of God, saying that I'm higher than this person who's in the image of God, that's making me a God. So at the end of the day, what it is that if they're able to look down on another human being and thinking that they're better, there's the only thing that's better than a human being on earth is God. So they're putting themselves on a level of God. So that's idolatry. And it's blasphemy. And God really, really doesn't like that. So that is like some serious stuff in the spirit realm. And for people who believe that and have this superiority complex, there's this power dynamic that they're into, and this hierarchy thing that they're into, and you're always going to be at the bottom of it, especially if you're a victim and you're on the receiving end of their hatred, of their bigotry, of their racism, of their sexism. And don't be fooled. Just because they might be treating you nice as a marginalized person, but if they hold a certain belief system about the group that you're in, don't walk, run. Because at some point, they're going to turn on you. They're going to start to mistreat you. They're going to start to abuse you, right? So just know that, if you're with a misogynist and the misogynist is telling you you're not like other women, you're different, and they're saying hateful things about women, they don't like you either. They believe the same things about you that they believe about every other woman. Like you're not special, really special to them, and me as a Black person, if I'm hanging out with someone who's white, who happens to be a racist, and they're hanging out with me, that's nothing special, hanging out with a racist, because eventually if they're saying horrible things about Black people or about other people of color, right? And, I'm not going to be the token Black person. Eventually they're going to turn on me, and I'm putting myself in harm's way. So you cannot have a healthy relationship with these people, whether it be romantic. And yes, these types of people, they will marry people who they think they're better than, right? Because that feeds the ego and their sense that they are like godlike, right? So yeah, they will marry you, they will procreate with you, they will have children, and then they'll abuse the children. So yes, these people are very, very unhealthy, and that's something that's a serious heart condition that has to change, and that's a journey that person has to go on. But just note that if you start to hear the little racist or sexist jokes or the bigotry, and you start to see it within that person, yeah, that's a person that you cannot be in a healthy relationship with. There's always going to be that power dynamic. They're always going to see you as less than. And people who think they're better than you can't have an equitable, healthy relationship, because they don't value you as a person. They see you as an object, and that's very, very problematic. And the fifth group of people that you cannot, under any circumstances, have a healthy relationship with, this is the final group, last but certainly not least, are abusive people. Don't walk, once again, just run. Run. Abuse is mistreatment. People who mistreat you, especially if it's perpetual mistreatment, you deserve better. you shouldn't be mistreated. And if a person is abusive and they're mistreating you, get away from them as quickly as you can. So the thing with abusive people, like almost like the prejudiced and the bigoted person, they want control, they want power, and they want things to be a certain way. And they want a certain level of compliance out of you. And they want to beat you down into what they want you to be. Right? So once the abuse starts, and once you see some of the signs, it's time to go, because usually it does not get better. It gets worse. And it usually with an abusive person and that abusive mind, it will escalate. It will go from not so bad to absolutely horrible, and I need to run for my life. So that's the thing, and those are the people that you really, really have to stay away from, the abusive person. So I'm gonna give you a couple of examples with the abuser. Of course, physical abuse, violence, people harming you physically, sexual abuse, definitely that's abuse. And then there's emotional and psychological abuse. And I'm going to tell you what that kind of like looks like. So with the emotional abuse, it could be, excessive criticism, shaming, them cursing you out, calling you names, name calling. So those are just a few examples of that. The psychological abuse would be, them constantly turning the tables on you. You bring an issue to them and then they flip it and make it be your issue. And you end up apologizing to them about an issue that you brought up. So that's part of the psychological abuse, the gaslighting. That's part of psychological abuse. And so those are just, a few examples of, the emotional psychological abuse. But any sort of mistreatment, those are people you definitely cannot have a healthy relationship with. So, it's the jealous person. It's the people who lack empathy, dishonest people, the prejudiced, bigoted people, and the abuser. Those are people who you definitely cannot have healthy relationships with. And I kind of like want to end with this. The thing is, we want to be in healthy relationships where we have to weed out the people who could be wasting our time, weed out the people who could be harmful. And the way to do that is to, have discussions like this, put it out on a table, And, the foundation for an actual healthy relationship is really respect. People who respect you, people who care about you, people who love you, people who are not going to mistreat you, who treat you well, people who you can trust, right? People who aren't going to be, jealous of you and want what you have. So, that's kind of like the basis for, a healthy and a good relationship. But really, number one for me, especially at the beginning of a relationship, when you're getting to know people, whether you're dating someone or it's a friendship that you're looking into, or someone you're an acquaintance with, the foundational thing you should look for in all relationships is respect. Make sure primarily that these people respect you, the people that you have in your life and who are closest to you, the people who you're spending time with, make sure they respect you. And it doesn't matter the level of relationship that you have with the person. It might not even be that deep. It might be a person that you just hang out with occasionally. It might be somebody you want to really get to know, or once again, that you're dating, but make sure that the respect is there. So before I close, I just want to go through some of the signs of respect, because these are things that we need to talk about. Some of us out there, some of you out there, maybe you grew up in a dysfunctional family or had, unfortunately, dysfunctional relationships. And, when you go through that trauma, it's hard to identify what's healthy. It's hard to identify what's good, and what's abnormal and what's disordered becomes normal. So it's kind of like you have to break yourself out of that, right? So it's important for us to be able to see good health and what's a good basis for a relationship. And the good basis is always, especially for the ladies out there, respect. It's for those of us who grew up in the church and we were indoctrinated, especially when it comes to relationships with men. The indoctrination was, oh yeah, men need respect and women need to be loved. That's what we were taught, right? But, I'm going to argue and say that women also need to be respected. And I think that's the first thing. Don't look for love. Look for respect first. Look for respect first. Because a man who doesn't respect you can't possibly love you. A man who doesn't respect you will probably harm you. So let's go into those signs of respect. Number one, a person who respects you, they're going to value your word. That means they're going to listen to you. At the basic level, you're in conversations. They're not going to constantly interrupt you, right? They're going to respect you, let you finish your sentence, right? They're not going to shame you. They're not going to belittle you. They're going to value your word and what you have to say and hear you out, even if they disagree with your opinion and what you have to say. But they're going to give you the respect to hear you out and to listen to you. They're going to give you the respect not to interrupt you. They're going to give you the respect not to make fun of your views and the things that you say, right? So they're going to respect your word. They're going to value your word. Secondly, a second sign of respect is that they're going to respect your boundaries and your limits. They're not going to try to push your limits. When you tell them no about something or something or something that they want to do or something, they're going to respect it. They're not going to try to convince you otherwise. And they're not going to try to coerce you, right? They're going to respect the boundaries. And when you say no and you want to do something, you don't feel comfortable with something, they're just going to let it be and be like, okay, you don't want to do that. Fine. You don't feel comfortable with that. Fine. That's the healthy thing to do. So a person who respects you, they're going to also respect your boundaries. Number three, a person who respects you, they're going to value your time, and also they're going to value your contributions, right? So they're not going to waste your time. They're not going to constantly be late. They're not going to constantly monopolize your time, right? They're going to value your time, and also they're going to value what you do for them. Right. So they're going to have some gratitude about the things that you do for them, and they're going to have gratitude for the time that you spend with them. Right. So look out for, when people value your time, they show up when they say they're going to show up. They're people of their word. Right. They're not going to waste your time. They're going to be mindful of your time. Right. And they're also going to be mindful to what you bring to the relationship. So and your contribution. So those are signs of respect. Number four, they're going to be mindful and they're going to pay attention, meaning that they're going to have an interest in you. They're going to be mindful of what you like, what you don't like, and they're not going to do things to trigger you. They're not going to do things to intentionally get on your nerves. They're not going to do things to upset you on purpose or to play head games with you, right? Also, they're going to pay attention to you as a person, as a human being, right? They're going to have a real interest in you. They're going to want to get to know you. And that means they're going to get to know your personality. They're going to get to know you as a human being and what makes you you. And that's a great foundation for a good relationship. People who are mindful and people who pay attention to who you are. And number five, they're going to speak well of you in your absence. These are people behind your back. They're going to say good things about you. Behind your back, they're going to be your cheerleader. Behind your back, they're going to say pleasant things about you, right? They're not going to drag you. They're not going to speak terrible things about you. They're not going to gossip. They're not going to lie about you. They're going to speak well of you. They're going to speak of your good qualities. And when other people say things about you that might not be true, or just say something that's not nice about you, in your absence, they're going to stick up for you. Those are signs of respect. How a person talks about you is a sign of respect. If they speak terribly about you behind your back, they don't respect you. They don't respect you. So those are the signs of respect. Those are the five qualities that I talked about, if you see these things, run. So yes, that's all I have to share with you in this video. I hope it's been helpful. I wish you all the best in your relationships. And definitely when it comes to getting to know people, take your time. Don't rush, right? A lot of people out here, they could have been saved a lot of hours in therapy and prayer and recovery from people if they just took their time. So I'm telling y'all all out there, please take your time to get to know people, because as you take your time, then these qualities and these traits, well, you get to see who they truly are. And if you happen to see any of the 5 things that I talked about, get away from that person. If you can, definitely get away from that person. So I appreciate you sticking around, and I appreciate you supporting this channel, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and God bless.